Here's what's coming up on today's show.
All these different pieces of the puzzle, making sure you have a plan and then adjust that plan as time goes on, because you do have things that will jump in the way, both good and bad. So we need to adjust that plan to make sure that you stay on track to get you where you need to be.
Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Mark, to start the show today, I wonder if you saw this story about a man in Washington, D.C. who used some random license plate numbers to win $50,000 in the Maryland lottery. He says he was walking into the liquor store to buy a lottery ticket when he saw a license plate bearing the numbers 43871. He took it as a sign and used those numbers for his Pick 5 ticket.
Oh, wow.
And he won $50,000.
Wow. I did not hear that. That's cool, though.
I might try that myself.
There you go, right?
I'm not accustomed to winning anything, but
Do you have to give half of it to the person who owns the vehicle with that license plate?
Since he's gone public with it, maybe he might
have to now. Right.
Guilted into doing that. I don't
Exactly.
know. Yeah, but, I always say one of these days when I win the lottery, but then I never buy lottery tickets. So.
Same. Yeah, you can't win if you don't play.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can't lose if you don't play either.
Well, That's true. That's true. And I have never bought a lottery ticket, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, let's do something else that's kind of crazy here. Let's talk about The Wizard of Oz. Of course, you've seen The Wizard of Oz, right?
A long time ago.
Yeah. We're off to see The Wizard. Let's see what we can learn about financial planning from this classic film. First of all, one of the famous lines from it is, "Follow the yellow brick road," a really memorable quote, in addition to being a great song by Elton John. To get to the Emerald City to meet the wizard, Dorothy and her friends had to follow the yellow brick road. Similarly, as you aim toward retirement and set off in hopes of achieving your goals, you need a path to follow. And that's what your financial plan ought to be. Will you still run into unexpected characters or mishaps along the way, maybe flying monkey or two? Sure, but it ultimately will lead you in the right direction instead of sitting around waiting for something to magically happen on its own. You got to have that path to follow. Right, Mark?
That's why we start every relationship with a financial plan. You've got to have direction. So we've got to know where you are and where you're going and how to get there. Rather than so many other advisors, or as I call financial salespeople, are there to just sell you a product, don't really look at your goals, don't really know if you're going to make it or not. They're just kind of winging it, hoping that you buy some special annuity or whatever it might be, and that's going to solve all your problems, which I can tell you it's not. So having a financial plan, working with a CFP such as ourselves, a certified financial planner that can build a plan and look at all the different areas, not just investing, but the taxes, insurance, estate planning, legacy planning, all these different pieces of the puzzle, making sure you have a plan and then adjust that plan as time goes on, because you do have things that'll jump in the way, both good and bad. So we need to adjust that plan to make sure that you stay on track to get you where you need to be.
And unlike all those people that you're talking about, those financial sales people, you actually take everything into account with someone. Future taxes, inflation, lifestyle, all of that kind of thing.
We build a financial plan. Yeah, we build a financial plan. That's how we start the relationship, is building a financial plan. Where others are just trying to sell you a product, we don't do that. Mm-hmm. So it's a totally different approach.
And that's one of the reasons that Mark Silverman never pushes any specific product here on this show. He's not here to do that.
I'm not a product pusher. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff to it. More financial wisdom from the Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home. I don't know if there's anybody who would really disagree with that today, but Dorothy clicks her ruby red heels and repeats this classic phrase over and over in The Wizard of Oz. But we all know it's true. There's no place like home. And for many of us, our home is our biggest purchase and a long-standing constant in our lives. Before you retire, you may question if it's time to pay out the mortgage or consider shaking things up a little bit and moving someplace else. While there are financial implications, a lot of times this can be more an emotional decision than a financial one. I know you found that to be true.
That's true, and that's part of our financial planning process. We have some clients that do want to pay off the mortgage before they retire, and that's fine. You still have insurance, upkeep, taxes, all those sorts of things that you have to still have. But for some, people do have a mortgage, and it's just creating the cash flow to make sure that you can pay the mortgage in retirement. And it's more, like you said, it's more of peace of mind than it is a financial decision. So depending on what your mortgage rate is, if you're one of the lucky people that got a mortgage and refinanced or bought a new house, and you're in the 2 to 3% range, I would argue, we can do better in your investments, and you're getting a write-off, at least for now, which a lot of times you don't have write-offs in retirement. So I can make the case that maybe the mortgage makes sense on paper. But again, it comes down to, really peace of mind. But if you have a higher rate mortgage, 7 or 8%, in those cases, it does change the story. So we need to run the numbers to make sure that maybe the mortgage isn't something you want. And it also depends on where the funds are coming from. If you have to pull from a retirement account and pay taxes on it, that's not going to be very favorable. If you have after-tax money that's just sitting there not earning much, then maybe you're better off paying the mortgage. So every situation is different. So we that's how we look at it.
Yeah, if you're one of those people who has one of those low interest mortgages, you should pat yourself on the back right now, because that's really something good to have, and a lot of folks can't say that. Another line from The Wizard of Oz is, "If I only had a brain, I could think of things I never thought before." That was the Scarecrow dreaming about what he would do with a brain. Sometimes I think that might apply to a lot of people out there these days, but sometimes people say they wish they had the knowledge for what to do with their money. Or maybe your spouse handles more of the details when it comes to what your investments are. But you can always build on your financial literacy by doing things like reading financial books, finding videos or other resources online, or simply doing whatever you can to take an active role in your finances. And I would add one more thing to that. Have a conversation with Mark Silverman, because a lot of what he does is educating folks.
True. And you got to really consider where the information's coming from. There's lots of videos out there, and I see them on YouTube and things like that, and I totally disagree with them. They're people that aren't qualified to give advice. They aren't licensed, so nothing can happen to them. But if you're licensed like myself or a fiduciary like myself, you really have to be careful of what you say and making sure that what you're giving people is sound advice. So again, you got to consider the source. And, as I tell people, if it doesn't make sense, keep asking questions, because things should make sense and they should be explained to you in a practical way that you can understand. So it doesn't hurt to read books and getting information out there, but, you can easily find, two videos that contradict each other, and which one do you go with? So, reach out to a CFP such as myself or another CFP here in town. That's where I would recommend getting advice from, not a person that's trying to sell you a product.
And it's a good opportunity for me to point out that you are a certified financial planner professional. And, not everybody out there is. There are a lot of people out there who are not qualified at all to offer you any kind of financial advice. The last one I wanted to mention here is, are you a good witch or a bad witch? When Glenda meets Dorothy, this is the first thing she asks, hoping to find out who she's dealing with. When it comes to financial advice, not everyone that you like and trust is actually a good witch. Your cousin, your neighbor, your pickleball partner, these might all be the great people in your life, but they aren't necessarily the people you want giving financial advice, not because they made bad decisions themselves, but because what worked for them is not necessarily going to work for you. You're different people with different numbers and different lives. And Mark Silverman, of course, designs everything specifically for your needs and your desires.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This kind of ties in with the previous statement that we talked about. You got to consider the source. You want to seek out a professional. Just because somebody else maybe seems to have done well, their situation might be completely different than yours. And so no two situations are alike. So seek out professional advice, whether it's your investments, your taxes, insurances, estate plan. Whatever it is, you need to speak with a professional that can give you an objective and look at all different sides to give you the pros and cons of what you may consider doing. Because the last thing you want to do is make a mistake and make a bad decision that's going to cost you and your family money, or at worst time that you're going to have to continue working longer because you made the wrong choice.
After a week or so after the show is heard by so many folks out there, somebody might call you as a joke and say, "Hey, Mark, are you a good witch or a bad witch?" But how does
I don't know what they mean.
How does that very first conversation you have with someone new, how does that go?
It's different for everybody. We don't have like a script that we're sticking to. Basically, whatever people have needs, and what I try to do is assess what questions. Some people just have a question or two that they need answered. I'll try to give them advice or answer that question. Some people want to know about our process and that sort of thing, which, you can get some great information online on our website. I'll have you give that information out. Or they just want to see, what it would be like to work with us. So it really comes down to, it's driven by the client or the prospect and what kind of needs they have, and we'll take it from there, and I'll either give them some advice and that's the end of it, or we talk further and decide that maybe it's time for them to come into the office and discuss things further and see what we can find out for them.
And when you talk to Mark, one of his main objectives is to get to know you, what's important to you. And while he does a lot of talking on this radio show, basically he may be asking you a lot of questions when you get together. So just keep that in mind. He wants to get to know you and design a plan that is right specifically for you and not your neighbor, not your brother-in-law, not your coworker. 520-333-7601 is your number to call, or you can text to that number if you like, 520-333-7601. You can also go to savingwithsilverman.com. Love saying that website address, savingwithsilverman.com. Find out more about Mark and his business that way. You can get a complimentary 20-minute introductory phone conversation. That's how it starts. Once again, that number is 520-333-7601. You've been listening to the Saving with Silverman podcast. If you have any questions at all about your financial situation, please give Mark Silverman a call. Again, his number is 520-333-7601, or go online to savingwithsilverman.com. For Mark Silverman, I'm Ron Stutz. We'll see you next time on the Saving with Silverman podcast.
The Saving with Silverman podcast is brought to you by Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, based in Tucson, Arizona. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show on your favorite app today and never miss an episode. Just search for Saving with Silverman to find us, or visit savingwithsilverman.com to listen to past episodes, to contact Mark, and to learn more about how to make smarter decisions with your money.
Did you know that Mark Silverman also has a radio show? Tune in to Saving with Silverman Saturdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. on AM 790 KNST.
All matters discussed on this show are for informational purposes only. Opinions expressed are solely those of Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, and staff. All topics covered are believed to be from reliable sources. However, Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC makes no representation as to its accuracy or completeness. This show shall in no way be construed as a solicitation to sell securities or investment advisory services to residents of any state other than Arizona or where otherwise permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Fee-based financial planning and investment advisory services offered through Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Arizona. Insurance products and services are offered through Silverman & Associates, an affiliated company.